Hello, everyone. Welcome on our WOW meeting on a Friday afternoon. Great way to wrap up the week, get ready for the weekend, but not before having learned something amazing. And today, that's why we called WOW. Today we have Przemyslaw Tomalski here with us. And thank you so much, Przemek, for making time. I know your schedule is crazy at the moment. So thank you so much for being here with us. You are the coordinator of the Sapiens Network. And well, you're gonna tell us a little bit more about yourself. But first of all, really, thank you for being here.
Sure. Well, thanks for inviting me. It's always nice to have a live chat in these days and to share some science. My name is Przemyslaw Tomalski. I run a baby lab in Warsaw at the Institute of Psychology of Polish Academy of Sciences. I'm also a scientist at the University of Warsaw here. Prior to that, we've worked together in the same place for some time in London, doing PhDs in cognitive neuroscience.
Yeah.
My work is mostly related these days. Sorry, there is a delay, I think, a bit.
Oh no, well, go ahead. I'm gonna let you speak.
Okay. Yeah. So my work and the work of my lab is focusing on the role of early social interactions for child development. We are especially interested in the first year of life. And also the Sapiens Network, which is a network of research labs that are training new group of scientists in developmental psychology and developmental science in general. This network is also getting together one of the best labs in Europe to study and train how social interactions shape the baby's brains. So the backstory of actually refocusing work on infant-parent interactions and the role in child development is actually quite remarkable, because for the last 20 years, people have been using a lot of fantastic tools to study the baby's brain, to study their cognition. And there's been huge progress in understanding what babies know in the first year of life. For instance, that they very early start to understand the physics of objects and how objects behave. We already knew quite a lot about their attention development and the fact that they have amazing attention skills from pretty early stages in their lives, such that they can actually explore and learn a lot from what they see, and that they quite early start to control their looking. So in a way, they drive their own looking from early stages. However, there's been increasingly research suggesting that the daily in and out experience of playing with other people, of interacting with other people, of communicating, even in very simple situations where you make a gesture and you get some response, where you smile in response to somebody saying to you, or where you grab an object and show it to your parent, and you get a commentary, a name, people started to understand that these very simple episodes and situations that happen every day in your child's life, that these are crucial for child development. So we've started to ask questions about the exact role of interactions and the kinds of aspects of child development that are shaped by daily interactions. So within the network, which is involving labs at the University of Cambridge and Birkbeck in London, Institute of Psychiatry at King's College, also Uppsala and Karolinska universities in Sweden, Ghent in Belgium, and Nijmegen and Utrecht in the Netherlands, and Rome in Warsaw, and also involves you, Sylvia, and we're very glad about this.
We're so
Plus,
smart.
yeah, plus a number of companies that develop various technologies, for instance, for studying behavior. So this network is getting together to develop training that will train 15 brilliant new PhD students in different research methods, in a more global understanding of early brain and behavior, and how social interactions should be studied, and how we can take the science further to develop different new applications, to develop new intervention tools, to develop new advice for parents, or to better plan education of young children, having that knowledge of social interactions.
Yes, because this is something that is very interesting from a scientific point of view. But then, basically, this kind of questions are the same, exactly the same ones that parents ask themselves, probably from the day when they get pregnant, right? We have, as parents, we have all these ideas about when we're pregnant, how perfect we're going to be, how much better than everybody else we're going to be in kind of shaping the social development of our children. So we might not call it like that. We might be like, I'm not going to spoil my child. But that's kind of, it's about how my behavior is going to affect the behavior and the thinking and how my child is going to grow up to be. So this is amazing that science has taken it so seriously now, because there's going to be implementation that's going to be very relevant, right, for parents themselves. And we have a question from one mom that came in during the week that was exactly that. So, like, what can I expect as a parent to learn from your science?
First of all, I have to say that different labs within the Sapiens network, which we should mention is funded by the Horizon program of the European Union, so we're very grateful. These labs work on different aspects of social interactions and development. Some of them are more focused on acquisition of specific skills by children, so how children early on, even when they're young babies, start to participate actively in interactions, and how they get to drive how those interactions with parents look like. So, for instance, we know that even newborns are very sensitive to faces, and in fact, when we're born, we seem to have like a simple face detector and orient a lot of our attention to faces. But it's not just faces, it's also human voices. It's the sound or melody, rather, of our language, of our native language. Unless we're living in a multilingual family, then there's more of them. So we have a lot of early biases that make us orient towards social stimuli. That's very important, because we then can be super focused on other people and on things that other people do, because as babies we learn a lot from other people, what other people do. We have increasingly data showing that daily interactions shape specific attention networks in our brain, and for instance, our own research in Warsaw was suggesting that specific events that happen during infant-parent interactions, just when it's a couple of minutes of play, are related to very specific skills in babies 5 or 6 months later. For instance, with a former PhD student of mine, Anita, we were analyzing interactions of 5-month-olds just during a normal episode of play. With toys, we normally call this situation a free play. So the baby and the mom can do what they want for 10 minutes. We were analyzing episodes when the baby was coordinating her or his attention with attention of the mom. So we were analyzing episodes where the baby was either looking at the mom and they maintained eye contact, or they were both looking at the same object, which is very difficult when you're very young and you're only learning how to navigate the visual world, how to look at objects of interest, and how to coordinate your activity with another person when you just learn how to control attention in general. So we measured these moments. It's usually a couple of seconds of time when babies and moms look each other in the eye, or when they look together at the same object. And we also measured specific aspects of attention development in these babies when they were 5 and when they were 11. And it turned out that in those infant mother pairs, when there was more looking face to face, there was more eye contact. Scientists call this situation mutual gaze at the time. So in those dyads where there was more mutual gaze, we actually saw better attention shifting, better attention disengagement from attractive stimuli 6 months later in an eye tracking test, which is measuring this aspect of attention. So it turned out that there are specific things we normally spontaneously do when we play with our babies that we don't even think that have some sort of specific meaning for attention development or brain activity. But these specific events actually are related to skills that babies acquire. So now there's a huge field of questions ahead of us about attention, language, motor development, about conceptual development, and so on and on.
This is amazing. Like from a parent's point of view, it's really, in a way, very encouraging to know that something as simple as looking our baby in our eyes, which is actually extremely pleasurable. It's a very nice thing to do. Mm-hmm. It's a nice thing as well. Is actually kind of a precursor of attention development. That we while we parent, we might not be aware of all the work we're actually doing, or yes, all the little brickstones that we're setting so that the development can happen. And of course, we never have, kind of causal relationships that are can be completely explained by just one experiment. But knowing that we are basically kind of, if we spend lots of time interacting with our children, mutual gaze, so looking at each other's eyes, it's actually important, and we're actually going down the right path of social development in a way. So it doesn't have to be like the super complicated last toy that costs a lot of money. It's as simple as just engaging with them.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Sylvia, you've said the most important thing. Social interactions are the essence of how we develop. And they're actually the basic context of quite a lot of learning that babies do. Because when you look at a lot of situations of learning in babies, the caregiver is usually there somewhere, either actively sharing something, or looking at a toy or playing with a toy, or having a lot of games where there's an element of play, with the baby directly, or the parent is somehow structuring the situation for the baby to be able to understand what's going on. So maybe I should say a few more things about social interactions of parents and what we as scientists think is the most important bit. So people from Harvard University actually coined a very useful term for the most important aspect of interactions between people in general, but between babies and their caregivers in particular. Serve and return, like in tennis. I do something, and then my partner in interaction is hitting the ball back, is doing something in response to what I'm doing. So we have these situations where very early interactions of parents and babies, even with 2-month-olds, they look like they really look like a dialogue in a sense. So you have maybe a gesture, a smile from the parent, and then the baby, in her or his own time, of course, will respond with an arm movement, or you will see a vocalization, sometimes maybe even a louder one, right, when there's a lot of excitement. So they may seem unstructured and kind of random, but quite the contrary. Even with very young babies, we see this dialogical structure. So there's serve and return, and then we we see something that really looks like proper turn taking. So parents and their babies take turns in doing something during interactions. In my lab these days, we're very interested in how babies use their entire body in this process of turn taking. So, for instance, we have a project where parents and their babies play with wearing small wearable movement sensors, so that we can actually monitor what they do with their arms and their legs and their trunk. And whether their whole body is involved in these turn-taking situations, not just their voice or their head when they're shifting attention to look at something. So serve and return is important. That's one thing. Second thing is about being attuned to the baby. So we have to remember that for babies in their early months, everything is hard. Everything is new to them. They try to do very simple tasks or actions, and they often fail. But they never give up, right? They do it again and again and again. When there is an object they want to reach, they reach and reach and reach until they actually know how to grasp it, to bring it forward and to look at it and explore. It's a little similar when you actually play with a baby. That they sometimes need much more time to be able to respond to you or to adjust to the situation. So sometimes when we are very active, we have we have a lot to say to our baby, and it happens really fast. It might be a little bit too fast for that. So an important aspect of optimal interaction with a baby is being able to regulate the pace of these exchanges, being able to adjust to the speed that our baby can handle, so that he's not frustrated or doesn't withdraw from play because things are happening too fast and it's hard to control. And importantly, a lot of training or intervention where we're trying to help infant parent diets to work on interactions are focusing on these aspects of attunement as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you one quick question about attunement. How do you measure it actually? Because maybe serve and return is somehow easier to imagine, that you were looking for the serving and then looking for the return. But attunement, how do you observe it in the lab?
The labs that work within the Sapiens network have a huge variety of methods. So increasingly, people are trying out different wearable tools, so different ways to study attention in live situations, where you can actually put a wearable eye tracker, so a device that can track eye movements and focus of attention in babies, when they are playing face-to-face with their parents. So we have colleagues in Uppsala, for instance, and in Utrecht who are studying babies and young children using head-mounted eye tracking to understand how attention of a young baby is working during play as opposed to an adult. We have colleagues from different labs like Birkbeck and Cambridge and Nijmegen that are studying brain activity using different devices, now increasingly also wearable devices, so that we can actually bring studies of brain activity to the real world and study real world situations where babies even move and explore some objects. And we want to understand how their brain is then working. This is very important because social interactions usually are very hard to grasp and to measure. So they usually consist of a lot of short situations where something's happening really quickly and it's difficult to reproduce. So they're very, very tough for people that try to construct careful psychological experiments where things are repeated many times. We can get a good average response of the brain to specific situations, right? So these wearable devices for monitoring brain activity, like EEG on ears, are also very important. There's more work going to people's homes as well. So we're trying to develop methods that will help us measure baby development and social interactions at home. So my group is also trying to develop wearable devices that we can use to study interactions at home. And that proves quite challenging, I have to say, these days. We also have colleagues in Rome who are trying to develop computer vision methods that can analyze recordings of babies and can analyze their cries and their vocalizations as well, because they want to develop new ways to predict higher likelihood of developing autism. So they think that slightly atypical movement in young babies, even at the age of 3 or 4 months, could be detected from those recordings if you use very powerful computer algorithms to find them. I think I've mentioned most of the projects. A lot of projects actually also analyze existing data sets, because we have in the past decade collected a lot of longitudinal data sets on both typically developing babies and babies that have higher likelihood of, for instance, autism. And we still have not been able to use these data sets fully to understand different aspects of child development, just because we have really rich data sets, and there are so many questions we want to ask. We just need big teams to be able to address all of them.
Mm-hmm. So in all these different ways, you're looking for serve and return pattern, you're looking for attunement.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there any other things that is
Sure. There's if you look from the parent's perspective, I think the most important thing is to relax. Don't stress about, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? What should I do? The biggest joy of social interactions is that they just flow. Yeah, they are natural. We're normally spontaneous when we're not overconscious about what we're doing. They usually go quite well, but being sensitive to your child's signals is important. Being able to do things differently if they don't work for your child. For instance, your baby is tired and doesn't want to do particular games because they just require too much movement, but maybe you can sing a song together, right? Instead. So I think having joy from playing together and having enough time spent together, exploring toys, singing, having different movement games. That's one of the most important things we can do, much more than buying expensive toys or even the latest books with fancy puppets or something else. We are probably the most important aspect of early experience of our children. And I think understanding that babies are super clever, it's just that they have very limited ways of responding early on. Therefore, we need to look at them as people that within their means are actually highly interactive with us and have a lot to show and to gesture or vocalize about to us. I think that's very important. And that probably helps parents to just focus on being together and making it an enjoyable time. So I would say that this is most important when you're trying to understand early interactions.
Yeah. So I think it's really wonderful that really science is telling us that the most important thing we can do with our kids is having fun with them, and probably like the fun is gonna take care of all the rest, because we have fun when there is a flow that you were talking about before, right?
Yeah.
We maybe take the time to stop and engage in this flow and try to adjust and be flexible. We're going to start enjoying it ourselves. And the more we do it, the more we learn how to have fun. And again, if we go back to the tennis metaphor, it's probably right. The more you learn how to kind of respond, and the more fun it is. And it can, and you don't need anything else apart from yourself and the baby, really.
I would say so. I would say that talking is important, but talking that leads to some kind of dialogue, right? Not talking past another person. So all early ideas that we can just switch on in television with good quality language, and this is going to boost our baby's language development. Well, it doesn't seem to work like that. Having a dialogue seems to boost language development, especially spoken language in children. We are getting more and more science showing this. So there is a lot to think about in terms of parents developing their sensitivity to their baby's needs, and also understanding that babies are different. So they have different ideas for favorite activities. They love to experiment, and sometimes it can be really annoying, right? If your baby is dropping that spoon for the 10th time, well, it's a fabulous experiment for them, and seeing how you can reproduce certain effects is amazing. But if your parent is probably tiresome at some point, right? So we have to deal with some small frustrations. The last thing I would say is that our babies are active explorers of the world around. So we have to find a way to give them space to do that, but they're going to enjoy sharing their discoveries with us. And we have to remember that we are the essential element of that discovery of new objects and situations, because we can share and talk about it together.
Yeah, this is all. It really gives us an idea of how important, how intelligent parenting can be. Like we can really think about it and bring something. It's not about just keeping the child alive until the evening. There is so much more that we can do with our child, and the more we know about children in general and about our own specific child. I love how you kind of put the accent on how they are all different, really. Like, it's not just a phrase that we hear so many times that it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's really about discovering this new person, and it can be as interesting for us to discover them as it is interesting for them to discover us and the world around them. And that beautiful picture that you described about a child that keeps doing things and keeps failing and keeps doing them still, and very often with a smile, can really be a good image for us to take inspiration from, right? Parents. And as science, I guess, as well. In this, you were talking about the practical challenges of developing new techniques, etc. It takes a lot of resilience as well, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So before we say goodbye, is there one thing that you think no parent should ignore about child development?
Oh, there are so many. How am I supposed to pick up one? Well, I think being a parent can get difficult because we suddenly become much more self-conscious. So we probably have many more situations when we are with our babies where we start to be aware of our emotions, and sometimes they can be difficult as well. So I guess one important thing is understanding that we have this amazing person in front of us that could be 3 weeks old and is already an active participant in whatever we do. So we have to manage both our feelings and our history of being a child, and how that affects the way we play with our baby. But also we have to see that there's this very different person from any other person we've met before. So a lot of our experiences during infancy will be very different. Like you said, Sylvia, that every baby is different, and that this is a completely new relationship that we're developing, and are just going to have a lot of exciting things and some frustrating as well. So we should probably just be open to doing things differently and understanding who this person is.
Thank you, Przemek. I think it was a really helpful and inspiring and super interesting talk that you gave us today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the work you do for Sapiens, for science in general. And
thank you.
Thank you to the Essex Baby Lab, who is making these appointments possible with WoW Live, from the womb to the world, how babies and children amaze us. And today, Przemek, you really helped us see how amazing it really is to enter this new relationship with this brand new person, and how this relationship is key to then the development of this new person, and our own development as well, because we never stop developing, do we? Okay. So, Przemek, thank you so much for being here. We hope to be able to call you back soon, maybe.
Sure, happy to.
There is so much more we want to ask you. And thank you very much, and have a great end of the week, and then a relaxing weekend, hopefully.
Thanks. I'm enjoying a fantastic conference from the Max Planck Society on Early Language Development this weekend. So,
Wow.
A lot of good recorded talks. It's great because I can watch them whenever I want. But thank you very much, Sylvia. It's great talking about babies and what they know, and what's the world like. And I hope we have more opportunities. And if there are any questions, you can always email me as well.
Thank you so much. Our readers say thank you a lot as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, hopefully maybe next time can see you. all the viewers. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.